All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to crack the code on one of the trickiest parts of learning Portuguese, those pesky irregular verbs. But don't worry, this isn't going to be some dry grammar lesson. Think of it more like we're solving a puzzle together, and you'll see the secrets are actually way simpler than you think.
So, have you ever been practicing your Portuguese and you come across a verb that just doesn't follow the rules? It can be super confusing, right? Well, you're definitely not alone. It's a really common sticking point. But why? Why do these verbs seem to have a mind of their own? Let's figure it out.
Okay, let's start with this sentence right here. This is our central puzzle. O palhaço cai e as crianças riem. We've got two verbs here, cai, which comes from cair, to fall, and riem, from rir, to laugh. They don't really look like your standard well-behaved verbs, do they? Stick with me, because by the end of this, they're going to make perfect sense, I promise.
To solve this whole puzzle, you don't need a massive grammar book. You just need 3 keys. That's it. 3 simple patterns that are going to unlock a huge group of the most common irregular verbs in Portuguese. We're just going to tackle them one by one.
So, our first key opens the door to a really big and super important group of irregulars, verbs that end in IR. This is where you'll find some of the most frequently used words in the entire language. And here are the main characters for this section. I mean, you see these verbs absolutely everywhere, right? Asking for something, hearing a noise, going to sleep, coming and going. Getting a handle on these is a total game changer for your fluency.
And here it is, the first secret. For this whole group, the weirdness, the irregularity, almost always shows up only in the EU form. You know, when you're saying, I do something. The other forms, they usually just behave normally. So that's the big clue you need to be looking for.
And you can see that pattern right here in action. So pedir becomes peso. See that little se? It's not pedo. And ovir becomes oso, not oval. That little spelling change right there in the AO form is your giveaway. As soon as you spot it, you know you're dealing with one of these irregulars.
And here's how you'd actually use it in a really common, super polite phrase. Peço imensa desculpa pelo atraso. So see, you're not just memorizing a rule, you're learning how to sound natural and communicate better.
All right, key number 1 is in the bag. Let's move on to our second key. This one is for a smaller but just as important group of verbs, the ones that end in er.
Let's take a look at sair, which means to leave or to go out. The pattern here is that an extra I just kind of pops into the U form, so you get you saio. But then look at the others. Sais, sai, saimos, they pretty much follow the regular pattern. So again, all the action is concentrated right there in that first person form.
And here's a great example with care, which is the other major verb in this group. This short, dramatic little sentence, careful, you'll fall, is perfect for helping that case form stick in your brain. It's direct, it's punchy, and it's something you might actually hear somebody shout.
Okay, we've got 2 keys down, just one more to go. Let's grab our third and final key and completely crack this code. This one is for verbs that end in uir, and it has a very specific kind of quirky twist.
Okay, so this last key has a little twist, so you'll want to pay close attention here. For certain verbs, like construir, the I in the middle of the word actually changes to an O. And notice exactly when it happens. In the second and third person singular forms, so tu and ele, and in the third person plural, eles. And here's that rule in action. So on the left, you see construir follows the pattern tu construis. But look over on the right. Distribuir becomes tu distribuis, no O there. This is so important because it shows the rule doesn't apply to all verbs ending in uir, just a specific group like construir and destruir. Wow, and what a powerful example to really lock this in. Nature builds and man destroys. It's almost poetic, it's super memorable, and it perfectly shows you both construi and destrui using that unique O spelling. And just like that, the code is cracked. Seriously, you now have the 3 main keys for understanding a massive number of Portuguese irregular verbs. So let's put this all together and see why it matters so much in real life. It really all comes down to this number. 3. That's it. By just getting these 3 patterns down, you've unlocked a huge portion of the irregular verbs that you're going to bump into in daily conversations. It's all about working smarter, not harder. So here they are, your 3 keys all on one slide. This is your cheat sheet. First, watch for those eu form changes in IR verbs like beso. Second, remember to add that I in the ao form of AR verbs like saiu. And third, look for that special I to a change in verbs like construir.
And here's the bottom line, the real takeaway. We're not talking about some obscure words you'll hardly ever use. We're talking about the absolute bedrock of everyday Portuguese. Going, coming, asking, hearing, sleeping. You literally can't have a conversation without them.
So, the question isn't if you'll use them, but which one will you use first? Now that you have the keys, which verb will you use today? Go on, try putting pesu, saiu, or osu into a sentence. Thanks for cracking the code with me, and happy learning.